Justin Barrasso just wrote his last article for Sports Illustrated and been covering wrestling for nearly a decade. Interviewed Damian Priest, and this was a comment that a couple comments here. He said, "We had just had a major moment joining together forming the Judgment Day," said Priest. "It felt like no time had passed, and then it was Edge who told me that he was being taken out of the group." This is that group that we're talking about right here. And he waited to tell me after TV one night when we were on the road. I thought we were done. I was so upset when Rhea found out. She was even more mad than me. Edge was mad too, said Priest. I still speak with him. He was one of our biggest backers. When he told me, I remember him saying, all of this for nothing. And I repeated that, for nothing. That's the way it felt at the time. I was waiting for the phone call to get released. Obviously, it worked out a lot differently. So let's talk a little bit about that time, because I was around. I was at Backlash when Rhea joined Judgment Day. And this was after, if you remember, she had tagged with Liv, and that started to become a thing. And they kind of got thrown together, and it was a pretty good thing. Like, they had something there. But they had Rhea debut to help Edge and join Judgment Day. That was the debut of her black hair, and obviously that has worked out quite well. And I remember talking to her. I want to say I was standing outside a Gorilla at the Dunk, as Cody would say, in Providence. What a shithole. The city and that arena. And I remember talking to her, and I was like, I was happy for her. Her and I have always gotten along. When we talk about her more, there's probably a whole segment of talking about Rhea Ripley. And we used to take pictures together after her big moments at pay-per-views. But I remember talking to her about, I was like, man, you and Liv had something good. And she's like, I know. I was like, I'm really happy. She said, I know, I'm thrilled. I said, I'm really happy for you, but it seems like there was more there. And she's like, yeah, I kind of thought the same thing. And then obviously there was the feud with, Finn and AJ and Liv and against them. And then Finn ends up in the group and all that stuff because Edge is gone. But obviously it worked out for her. But there was a time, and I'll put that picture up again. We'll get that up there again. There you go. They were cutting these promos, and this is very Vince-pilled time. And Vince wanted the group, more so Edge, to be spooky, to be supernatural. There was a Raw where it was planned that Edge would sit in a throne like that during a match, and he would start like floating down to ringside. Like, they wanted to make him Undertaker-like in terms of those supernatural powers of lights. And like, that was kind of it. That was like, Vince is like, it's got to be like, he wanted them to be supernatural. And I remember reading the script for Raw and going like, what the fuck is this? What are we doing here? And, they would have had some kind of trick and I guess they either, I don't know what happened. I wasn't at the show. I was going to do Raw Talk that night. But I remember reading it going like, this is not good. This is not like, I don't think I was a huge fan of the group. I think I wanted Edge to do other things. I was happy for Damian and I was happy for Rhea because I knew it meant a lot to them. And I know what Edge was doing. Edge was, Edge wanted to do that. I don't think Edge wanted that aspect to be part of it. They all had a look that worked. Edge, obviously, his career, and you go to Brood and everything he had done, and, Priest has that look. Rhea had that look. I mean, it looked right, but they wanted this thing to like float down the ringside. Every time they look back, he'd be closer and closer, and they didn't do that. And then Cody got hurt. And when Cody went down, and they also, I feel like that's also around the time Randy went down. And I think they looked at the roster and they looked at where things were at and went, we need Edge as a babyface. And so Edge got beaten out of the group. And that's where that comment came from. He was not supposed to be out. They looked at where the roster was, who's a top babyface, who's a top heel, and looked and went, we need another top babyface. I don't think that would happen these days. I think it's a deeper roster in terms of who's over. I mean, in terms of who's men and women top of the card. I think it's a much deeper roster in that way. But, that was the call back then. So, not soon after he was in the Judgment Day and created the Judgment Day, Edge was out of Judgment Day, which is always weird because it's Alter Bridge. The music is Alter Bridge. That's Edge. They've done his music forever. It's good music. It fits. It just was weird. It was like, hey, wait, that's Edge's music, kind of, right? That's kind of Edge's music. And look, it worked out. I think that group clicked at Clash of the Castle. It was starting to click, but when Dom, who had been getting beat up by Rhea and all that stuff, when he turned, because Edge, Rey Mysterio, all that stuff, when he turned, there's that group shot of Rhea and Finn and Damian, and they're just laughing. I went, oh, that's the group. That's what it's supposed to be. Yeah, they all are, wear black and purple, but they're not like dark and brooding. They were the shitsters of Raw. They caused trouble. They did whatever they wanted. Who was going to stop them? And they were all laughing and giggling and pointing, and like that was it. I was like, oh, they're kind of trolls. They're all little assholes, the best way possible, in the best way you would want heels. And that's where it got, and Dom was a big part of that. And go back and watch, as you can do, of course, here and now. Watch when it's done. But on a previous episode of this very show at thewrestlingmatchshow.com, I discussed that on the initial plans with Dom, and even though that day at Clash of the Castle, he had turned and kind of started to become part of the group. They didn't necessarily put him in the group, like formally, to the point that, when Finn and Rhea and Priest came in for a bump interview, Dom wasn't with them. And like we were talking around the idea of like, well, he's in the group. Well, he's not in the group yet. But we were like, hey, why is Dom not here? I don't know. And they were like, wait, he's not in the group? I'm like, that's kind of what creative told us. He's not in the group. And Dom is what solidified them. And Dom needed help. And I don't mean this in a bad way. Look, Dom wrestled on pay-per-views immediately. Dom was with his dad. Like, he had a lot to live up to. And he's always been fine. But now you're going, hey, you're not by your dad's side anymore. You've turned on him. You've turned on Edge. The people who like brought you up in the wrestling world. You're a heel now. And you could see in those early promos, while he was getting major heat, he was getting a little like, hey, you can do this. Hey, you got it, from like Rhea and from Finn. And it looked like, and I think Finn has talked about this, and I think they've all talked about this. It looked like, hey, we're with you, we're on your side, but it was also kind of real of like, hey, we got you, don't worry. Hey, this is Matt Kemp. Thanks for checking out one of our recent clips from The Wrestling Mat. Why is someone so close to The Rock kind of throwing Cody under the bus?
Yeah, a lot of people won't engage with Jim Cornette. I did, just because I have a mark for Jim Cornette.
Please subscribe right now. Hit the like and turn on notifications so you don't miss a thing. And I think you should listen to your TV partners. Let me tell you about WWE and a little insight. More subscribers means more content. And make sure you follow us on social media at WrestlingMat23 on both Twitter and Instagram.